Okay, we are live over channel 18.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're
Good morning. This is the meeting of the Marine and Freshwater Quality Committee. It's October 19th, 2020. Present today is Carol Etzold, Ed Hafner, Betsy Fertney, Richard Levy, and myself, Judy Scanlon, as acting chair. Judith Bruce will not be able to join us today. She has lost her mother, and I know I speak for the committee in saying that she is in our thoughts. So I'd like to call the meeting to order at 10:07. We did not meet in September because I was in the hospital. I apologize. It was not something I wanted, but it happened. So we have not met since August. The first item on the agenda is the Uncle Harvey's Pond Management Plan, the status of the notice of intent, and also a review of information prepared by George Meservey. And I'd like to introduce George Meservey. He's the Director of Planning and Community Development. I'm going to ask George, and he'd be very kind if he would summarize just briefly what has happened. I see Laura Slifka is here now. So Laura Slifka has joined us. Thank you, Laura.
Judy, I would like to recuse myself, and if you have a public speak at the end, I would be.
Yeah, she muted herself because she's recusing. But yes, Betsy, I plan on putting a little public speak in there after this particular topic, and then again at the end of the meeting. If I miss somebody waving their hand because I can't see everybody at once on my screen, one of the members, please tell me if you think I'm ignoring someone. It won't be intentional. It's just I can't see them always. Anyway, George is here. He's joining us today, and I welcome him. And I've asked him just to give a brief summary of developments since our August meeting, because a lot happened regarding Uncle Harvey's Pond in that short span of time. And George, I welcome you, and please feel free to give that brief synopsis, and then we'll discuss the letter, the memo that you drafted with information on Uncle Harvey's Pond related to whether a precedent would be set in this instance. Thank you, George.
Thanks, Judy. Nice to see you all virtually. So three residents, I think, went to the Board of Selectmen in August and articulated their concerns that the town was not moving fast enough to deal with Uncle Harvey's Pond. And that got the attention of the select board, and they put an agenda item for early September, I think September 2nd. And at that meeting, after much discussion, the selectmen voted to authorize the town administrator to file a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission for an alum, aluminum sulfate treatment of Uncle Harvey's Pond. And they had two contingencies on their motion and vote. And Cecil, please feel free to clarify if I'm getting a mistake, and I thought I got it right. First one was they wanted to make sure it was not precedent-setting activity if the selectmen authorized that filing. And the second was looking for clarity on how the pond work is paid for. So let me go to the second one regarding the payment. I researched the town meeting articles that identified pond management planning and implementation. And in fact, the FY19 funding article included implementing pond management plans. As you know, as a committee, you've prioritized Uncle Harvey's Pond as the highest priority to start with. Even though it's not a great pond, it was certainly heavily impaired. We don't have to get into that. So since that FY19 town meeting article was approved and we were already on our way to dealing with Uncle Harvey's Pond at that time, those funds were reserved. They're authorized, but they're not spent, and they're waiting for Uncle Harvey's work. So with regard to that contingency, we'll leave it to the selectmen and whether they're comfortable moving forward. Town council also met with the Conservation Commission. I believe it was last week or the week before to review their role in accepting and opening notice of intent filings in which not all abutters have signed on as property owners. So the outcome of that discussion with town council was that the Conservation Commission, if it receives a notice of intent for several property owners and some are not signed on, they should still open the public hearing and hold a hearing. In this case, the Conservation Commission is not charged to arbitrate property rights. Those go through the court system. So the Conservation Commission's responsibility is to administer the Wetland Protection Act as they see it and to hear the application on its merits. If there are concerns of abutters, I'm sure they'll get expressed there, but the issue of property rights resides not with the Conservation Commission. So we have not filed a notice of intent yet. The town administrator has placed this matter back on the November 4th selectmen's agenda to return to the selectmen with the precedent question and the funding clarification. So with that, I think I'd like to just let you know that I put together, in response to the precedent question, I put together a memo that I believe Judy has circulated to you all. And I would like your review of this from the precedent setting perspective. I tried to look at Uncle Harvey's Pond to see if it was unique or if this was a pond that is a decision by the selectmen to file would be replicatable or a precedent setting activity. So maybe just highlighting, I don't want to read the memo. I think you've all got it. But really it says that each pond is unique. They all have unique attributes that need to be studied and evaluated. The excess phosphorus that resides in Uncle Harvey's Pond is actually primarily a result of from sediment regeneration, about 2/3 of it. There are other management plans for the town in which that was not the case and in which an alum sulfate application has not been recommended. Uncle Harvey's Pond is the only freshwater pond I'm aware of in Orleans that has been close to human contact as a result of cyanobacteria blooms. And I indicated the years that blooms have been documented for. There may have been others, but it appears to be a problem that is almost annual right now. This is the only freshwater pond on the state DEP so-called 303D list of impaired waters. And since it's on that list, a TMDL is required to address the pollutant problem that is causing the cyanobacteria. The backstory of that is if the town, or the strategy here is if the town addresses the problem that is causing the requirement that the state comes in and sets a TMDL, if we address the water quality, there's no need for a TMDL to be set on the pond. And so that gives the town self-determination as to how it wants to treat its waters and does not put it in the hands of a state agency. It is the, let's see, just finishing up this memo. It's one of only 3 ponds in which the town is actually a pond, an abutting owner that where it's not a great pond. The others are Twinings Pond, controlled by the Conservation Commission, and Boland, which is elementary school property out in back of the elementary school. There's a lot of frontage on Boland Pond. So Uncle Harvey's is the only non-great pond, privately owned pond with a formal public access and a parking area in reasonable proximity. And really that goes to the amount of access and the reasonable use doctrine as explained by town council, that the public has the right and can access and go on all the waters of that pond because the town owns property on it. So that's a big breath to say. I would like your input as to whether you agree that this is a unique decision being made by the selectmen and that other ponds will be studied for their uniqueness and a separate recommendation made as to any management or treatment alternatives that are needed. So with that, I'd love to hear from you all.
Thank you very much, George. Members, discussion, questions for George? Ed?
Yes, George. So I understand that this memo is meant to address the remaining question of precedent setting. And that seems to me to be a legal argument. And so I don't think that our committee, which is more of a scientific advisory committee and not a legal one, is able to answer that question. So I'm hesitant to opine on whether or not what you're saying here is correct. I also, you mentioned in one of your bullet points that the town may bear some responsibility to remediate it. And again, that's something that I don't feel our committee is the one to answer. So with that in mind, I'm not sure what we can do other than to maybe correct a few of the facts in the memo that may not be exactly right. So for example, you mentioned in one of your bullet points, I'm looking for it here, how Uncle Harvey's Pond is unique. That's true. And the management plans for Pilgrim and Crystal, for example, you say alum treatment is not recommended, but one is we haven't established Crystal Lake management plan yet. We just recently got sent the final management plan and haven't reviewed it. So we can't say anything about that. And also in the Pilgrim Lake one, I notice in table 5-1 of the plan that there is a suggestion that alum treatment might be effective in some parts of it or something like that. So it's not off the table. I don't think it's the primary focus, which I think you're right. It's going to be on treating the septic wastewater that's coming in, but alum is not off the table, I'm saying. Let's see, what else did I have? I did like your description of the process that our committee uses to come up with options for treating the ponds. You mentioned how we get expert opinion, like from UMass at Dartmouth. We get their scientific analysis study of the pond, then they come up with options. We go through them and select the best one. And we listen to the community inputs, and then we come up with an option that we pass on to the select board. I think that was an excellent review of what our committee does. So with that in mind, I would like to keep our comments to you informal, not make any specific motion and vote on your memo, but just tell you what we think about it. So that's all I got.
I'm very happy to send this memo from myself to the town administrator. I just want to give you a chance to look at it before I sent it on. Thank you. Appreciate all your comments, Ed.
Also, I did rework your memo just as my way of looking at it. If you would like, I could send you what I had done.
Please do.
Okay.
Thank you, Ed. Other comments, questions?
No, for me.
Just, oh, no, Richard, no?
No. All set.
Laura? I can't hear you, Laura.
I think Ed did a good job summarizing.
Ed, just quickly, I agree that alum was mentioned in the Pilgrim Lake plan, also Crystal Lake draft plan, but not the primary recommendation. I believe, if I recall, it was interim management strategy that the town could decide to use if it wanted to until the upgradient homes, which are the primary source in both these cases of nutrients entering those ponds versus Uncle Harvey's Pond, where 67% of the phosphorus is coming from the sediments. that if the upgradient homes are connected to the town sewer system, that that would probably be sufficient to reach the target level for reducing phosphorus. But we'll be discussing those plans later next month. Well, one today and one next month. So I guess, George, the correction might be that it's not the primary recommendation for the other pond, for those two ponds. And it wasn't for Cedar Pond either, where we have a management plan. I believe George was just looking for the committee's approval on the information that was contained in his memo. I have a slightly different opinion than Ed, though I greatly respect his. But I do think that I could certainly agree with the information that's contained with those small corrections. Anyone else have a comment?
No, I think it was very clearly stated.
So is it important that we actually have a vote to accept the information, George, or not? Or do you have did you have the comments from us? Is that sufficient to bring to the?
I just wanted to make sure you saw this before it went to the Board of Selectmen. So I'm comfortable sending it under with my own signature. And if anyone asks me if you've seen it, it sounds like factually we're pretty close to the mark with a couple of changes
Yes.
there. And I'll make sure the selectmen get this and they understand that, you agree ponds are unique and each one has to be looked at separately.
Yes, I think
Mhm.
definitely.
I think that's one of the most important points, and I was glad that you listed it right off the bat. Excuse me.
Yes, there's no one size fits all solution to any of these ponds.
Personally,
Um,
I think that the precedent has already been set with alum treatment in ponds. So I don't really think should be an issue for Orleans as to whether or not the town starts off with a treatment for alum on one pond, because it's already been done on the Cape. And I don't think we should be looking at just the town of Orleans for that, because the Cape has, very similar ponds across towns. But again, I agree that, we should be commenting on the precedent setting side of things as well.
I thought the precedent part was paying for it. That the question lay with paying
Well,
for it.
That
Not,
is a separate question and it'll be addressed and we're not going to make the decision on that in this meeting.
And thank you for your comments, Laura. Yes, there are 12 ponds across Cape Cod, I guess, where alum has already been used. Anyone else have a comment on the memo that George presented to the committee, or any other comments? If not, then I will go to public speak to see if anyone else has any comments with regard to this. Now, I cannot see anyone else out there except for Betsy. So I don't know if there are comments from the public. I can't see them. So hopefully there's a way that I don't have a little hand thing. I don't have the little chat box thing on my screen. Maybe Sarah sees that. And so hopefully if someone else does have a comment.
There's a participants button you can press to see if anyone in the public is there.
Where would that be located?
Bottom center,
On,
participants, it says.
there's a little icon with a person.
Two
No,
people,
that's
yeah, that says.
yeah, a
there's
couple
16.
people icon.
probably in a different spot on my screen. So I apologize, technology. This is only my second Zoom. Oh, participants, and on my iPad, it's upper right.
Okay,
Panelists, how do I get?
there's attendees and participant panelists.
I only see participants.
You don't see attendees.
No,
It's,
There's 7
says there's
attendees,
16.
16
there are?
16
altogether.
participants, so
oh, that's too bad. I'd like to see them, but I can't.
Yeah,
I can read the names if you'd like, but I
Well, I
don't.
don't know how to see them if they want to comment. That's my problem.
Well, hey, Sarah, Judy, if they want to, they can raise the hand feature on their thing and then I can let you know.
Okay,
and
thank you.
unmute them.
Because I can't see that. Thank you very much, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Okay, Betsy, I apologize.
George, my only question is this. On November 4th, will Ed Eichner or Scott Fisher or will any of the scientists be present? Or is it simply your presentation to the select board?
The selectmen have already voted on this with a couple contingencies. So the town administrator is just going to go back and address those two conditions and make sure that the select board has a comfort level moving forward.
Oh,
So,
okay, excellent.
yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? And anyone else out there in the public that I can't see, but Sarah will?
Yeah, I don't see any hand raises.
Okay. Well, then, George, I thank you very much for coming to the meeting. You're welcome to stick around for the rest of the agenda or part of it. But I know you're very busy, so whichever.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all your time.
Okay, George, thank you again. Okay, the next item on the agenda is officer elections. I did put it after the previous discussion, just so George could, I know he has a lot on his plate today, so thank you for, I would have done it first otherwise. So.
Judy, I'm rejoining the meeting now.
Oh, yes, please. Betsy Fertney is rejoining, and I forgot earlier to mention that Cecil Newcomb is also here, and he's our select person, select board member liaison. So, hi, Cecil. What is your pleasure on the order of officer elections? I will comment also that I did reach out to Judith and offer to postpone officer elections, but her response was that she had no desire to hold office. So, but she appreciated being asked. Yes, Ed.
I nominate Judy Scanlon to be chairperson for our committee.
I second the
Second.
motion.
Any discussion?
Do a great job for us.
It's
Yep.
it's off for me to do this, but I'm willing to do it if you are offering to elect me, and I'm honored. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do we have to do it every person individually?
Yeah, roll call.
Yes,
Roll
I think
call.
we have to do a roll call. So,
Laura Slivka, aye.
Ed Hafner, aye.
Carol Etzold, aye.
Betsy Fertney, aye.
Rich Levy, aye.
and I don't know if I vote for myself or not, but
I certainly hope so.
Go for it.
then aye. Thank you very much, everybody.
I'd like to nominate Ed Hafner for vice chair.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Well, wait.
Oh,
He
oh.
didn't accept yet.
I'm sorry.
I would
Ed,
like to say I'm honored, but you should also ask if anyone else would like to run.
is there anyone else that would like to hold that position of vice chair? I already held that position, and I think Ed would be a good choice, but there are anyone else on the committee would also do a good job.
Laura Slivka, aye. Can I move forward?
Yep. Yes, thank you.
Carol
Judy
Etzold, aye.
Betsy Fertney, aye.
Rich Levy, aye.
Judy Scanlon, aye.
Ed Hafner, yes, sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And that leaves the coveted position of clerk. Ed?
I nominate Rich to be our clerk.
Oh, picking on the new member.
Uh-oh.
That's the tradition.
It
That
is the tradition.
I second that.
Well, that happened really quickly.
Uh-oh, watch out, Rich.
I don't know. I think I'm being, I don't know. Has Carol done it already too?
I've done it on an ad hoc basis many times.
Oh, okay. All
I've done it.
right. I thought I was only going to be volunteering for doing sampling, but, all right, so can you explain to me before you do that exactly what your expectations are, since I'm the rookie in this committee?
Laura, you'd like to tell him about,
So basically you take the minutes for the committee. You have to make sure you know what all the documents are and you add them to the minutes as to the documents that we reviewed. In the past, Carolyn has always given the documents to George. Judy, would you continue to do that? Give George all the documents, or would you expect the secretary to do that?
no, I can provide all the documents. And they need to go in with the minutes when they're turned into the town clerk's office. That's usually how it goes. And I can certainly help you with that, Rich.
Okay. So you use the word secretary versus clerk versus town. Well, a clerk is you're talking about the town clerk, right?
The town clerk is different. Yes, I think we use clerk instead of secretary because that was sort of gender,
Oh.
we're being gender.
I didn't even think that way. So even
Yeah, well,
thought
that's
about
good,
that.
but
I mean, whatever the title is that goes with it, I guess I'll learn that way, right? More about everything. So
yes.
But Judy, I might suggest that, Rich,
yeah.
some people try to capture every single word that was said. And many years back, our select board liaison emphasized that we don't have to capture every single word. It's
Right.
mainly the topic and a
I get it.
conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actions taken, so votes.
Right.
They could be
Yeah.
really short. Yes.
So one other question for you. Are these being recorded? Because I would probably need, considering I am a rookie, there are things I might miss. So I either need an advisor like Carol or someone else who's helped. And then I need to know a little bit more. I'm saying I'll do it, but I'm just want to make sure I do it right. And right now I can't get my Gmail straight. So it's the rest of my mail is fine. I'm on, go ahead.
When you do it, we review them at the next
Yeah,
meeting.
right.
So
Absolutely. Yeah, I understand that part. Yeah.
You know
can
what
always
might
help
be
you.
helpful is, and I have them buried somewhere in a filing
Mhm.
cabinet, but Judy, if you had on hand copies of sample previous minutes from the last few of us that have done these,
Mhm.
so he can see what kind of style and level of detail
Yeah.
other people have used,
Yep.
and then choose your own.
Right, and
Yeah.
some people write a tome and other people are
Yeah.
very brief. Ed, did I see your hand up? Yeah.
Yes, as when I joined the committee and became the clerk, what I did was write the minutes. I would send them to Carolyn, who was our chairperson,
Okay.
for review before I distributed
Great
it
idea.
around, and she would
Yeah.
fill in the facts that I was not familiar with. And she really helped me out. And
Okay.
I think you could do that with Judy, or you could do
Yeah,
it
right.
with any of us, really.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of us take notes and can help. It's hard sometimes when you're participating in a meeting to also be writing madly. So,
Yeah.
but the thing with the Zoom now is that it's recorded and you can go
Right.
back and listen to it again and
Right.
see if you missed anything.
Yeah. So it's more just the mechanistic things of where stuff is stored and not stored. And, I'm used to
Right.
using things like SharePoint and things that have, all the files go right into a single place. Here, I'm not sure where all the files go.
Well, the town has.
Probably filing cabinets,
Yeah, I think so.
paper.
Paper. Yeah. I like paper, but only to a certain point. So anyway, I don't mean to belabor the discussion. I can talk to Judy offline about this. So thank you for your confidence
sorry.
early
I-
on.
My phone rang and I even though I put do not disturb on everything. But it does go out to ComMail, so it's available through the Freedom of Information and all that,
Yeah.
to open
Mhm.
meeting law. And the town also posts important, reports and reports
Right.
online. So I saw Betsy had her hand up.
Yes, I had suggested that a future agenda item might be our making a decision as to whether we will be recorded or not. Because if you will recall, about a
Mhm.
year ago, we discussed this and we
Mm.
decided only to take minutes and not be recorded.
Okay.
Now, as a result of COVID, we are being recorded, so I think we're in the habit of it. But I think if our intent is to be recorded in the future, that requires some logistics, because that means that we are consuming town resources through Sarah in order to set up the recording of our meetings. So I think that should be a future agenda item. At this
Mhm.
point, it's all public, and I think the public enjoys being able to access it. And I think it would be odd to step back after COVID
Mhm.
rather than continue with the openness of the recording.
And we'll have that duly noted, and it is item 8 on the agenda for future agenda items, and we'll add it to that for discussion at a future or the future meeting.
Okay. And discussions I have with Judy on the notes, so those don't have to be part of the public process. Is that correct?
I believe as long as we're not deliberating or
Right. We're just recording what the
if
facts
it- if
of the
if
meeting.
it's right, if it's correcting spelling
Right.
mistakes
Correct.
and things like that, I think that's allowed.
That's what I got out of the the meeting that they had with the town
Yep.
councilor and everything. It seemed like that would be fine.
Absolutely.
Have we voted on Rich yet?
No, we have a motion out there and it's been seconded, but we have not taken a vote.
Laura
And I-
Sliff, aye.
Betsy
Aye.
Courtney, aye.
Carol Etzold, aye.
Ed Hafner, aye.
Judy Scanlon, aye.
Vote, Rich, vote.
I vote aye.
Well, I thank you all, and thank everyone else for stepping forward. And I will now proceed to the approval of the meeting minutes that we unfortunately couldn't get to last month because we didn't meet. So this is the August 17th, 2020 minutes.
I have a correction, Judy.
Okay, I'm just gonna pull them up on my
Okay.
other screen as I try to multitask here.
On item number 4, on the vote.
Now, Lara, will you take care of this because you did these minutes, or you and Ed did these minutes? Will you do the updating of these minutes?
I think Ed has the final, yeah,
Ed
I
does?
can, or I can, either way, whatever. Ed, would you prefer that I did them or?
Just so
Um,
you have to scribble madly on this, one of you will.
I don't have my computer open, but I'll be doing the same thing, scribbling madly. So it's okay.
Nope.
Okay. Oh, we'll all scribble. I couldn't print it out because it came through as a different, it wasn't a Word doc. It was a HTML or something, and I couldn't print it. So it's probably my fault for being technologically ignorant.
So Ed, on item 4, I believe the vote should be 502. I, in addition to Richard, was abstaining because it refers to Uncle Harvey's Pond.
Oh, okay,
I did not participate in that vote.
right.
And then on the Dredge Advisory Committee, you just flip-flopped. On the second to the last paragraph, it says an issue under evaluation is whether or not a single mechanical dredge can solve the issues. It's a single hydraulic dredge,
Oh, single.
not
eyebrow.
mechanical. Yeah, you reversed them. And I really think that's it. I mean, I'm not gonna wordsmith, so Rich will get his own style and he'll decide in the future how to summarize things.
Well, I have a question. Did we have a vote or did we take any kind of verbal vote whether we were making a recommendation for Dr. Brian Howes. We talked about that. I thought we said that that was consider making a possible recommendation. Did we finalize that in any way? Or is that left?
No. If I recall, that was to recommend that he be asked to review
Right.
any final reports on submitted to the Dredge Advisory Committee on Pleasant Bay, Nauset Estuary, Rock Harbor, because of his
Yeah.
experience working in
Right.
those estuaries.
Mhm.
But I don't think we took any action on that, and it's not on the agenda for today, but we can
Right.
add that to next month's agenda if that is what you're suggesting we do.
Well, it's
I was
duly
more
noted.
just-
It's duly noted. I missed that. I will be sure that
Yeah.
both Brian and Ed have a copy of that document. It's only in draft form, but I think that's the appropriate time for them to receive it. The select board have it and the finance board have it. So I think it would be appropriate for Brian, if he doesn't already have it, to have it at this point in time.
Yeah, the town would need to approve,
Right.
them doing that. They do
Right.
provide technical advice and expertise to the town on a ongoing basis as part of their existing contract, but I don't know all the details. That's a George Meservey question.
Oh, Judy, then it sounds like what I should do is write a brief paragraph and send it to George and say, we feel Dr. Howes should be reviewing this data. It may incur an hourly fee. It requires your approval to forward it to Dr. Howes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I believe that's the process the town needs to go through it.
Okay, then I will do that.
Consultant needs approval. George is essentially the contract administrator for these types of environmental consultant contracts. Same with Scott Fisher and Matthew Crichton, and so.
Okay, I will do that. I will send a note to George. And do you want me to copy the whole committee, or do they, hearing it right now, know that I will be forwarding that
No,
request?
I think you should copy the committee for
Okay.
information. Yeah, and Ed Eichner, if the issue of freshwater pond dredging is also part of that, then Ed Eichner also.
Okay, you're right. It's only briefly mentioned, but
Right.
I'll include Ed.
Thank you for flagging that. Rich.
So are we ready to vote on the minutes?
I believe we are. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes with those two corrections. Betsy Fertney?
Second, Rich.
Ed Hafner, yes.
Carol Etzold, yes.
Judy Scanlon, yes.
Obviously, Rich, yes.
Did Laura already?
Laura, yes.
Oh, there she is. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the Dredge Advisory Committee update. I just realized that I
I
missed something.
did too.
Agenda. I apologize. If you'll allow me to go back to item number 2 with when we did the officer elections, I also had on there, we do have a primary and an alternate representative on the Dredge Advisory Committee. Betsy presently serves in that role, and I presently serve as the alternate. I don't know if the alternate needed to be reappointed, but I do know that the primary does. So I just figured that we would do both of them. And I guess my first question would be, does Betsy wish to continue serving in that role?
I would be willing to continue serving in that role, but since you have so many other activities, you may wish to consider appointing a different alternate unless you personally want to continue to serve as the alternate.
I actually would like to continue if the committee wishes me to do so, just
Okay,
because of my background in marine science and freshwater pond monitoring work.
Okay.
anyone else want to take over?
Not I.
Not I. No, thank you.
Ed?
I move to appoint Betsy, our primary liaison to this committee.
I second that.
Second.
Oops, good.
All those in favor?
Laura, I.
Carol, I.
Rich, I.
Ed, I.
Betsy, aye.
Judy Scanlon, aye. Thank you,
I move-
Betsy.
I move to appoint Judy Scanlon as our alternate.
I second the motion.
Ed, I.
Rich, I.
Betsy,
Carol,
Betsy.
I.
Betsy, aye.
Judy Scanlon, aye. Okay. And again, Betsy, I thank you for doing that. I know they meet frequently and so I really appreciate your diligence. All right. Back to Judge Advisory Committee update, Betsy. Thank you.
Okay, so I think the most logical way to approach this is simply, I'm hoping most of you have gotten your town warrant. So specifically, the items that apply to dredging are Article 16. Article 16 covers the Nauset Estuary dredging, and that includes from Town Cove out to Priscilla Spur, and then from Priscilla Spur behind the Barrier Beach. And you will note in the dredging report that they separate the Barrier Beach quantities from the dredging the rest of the estuary, because behind the Barrier Beach is quite dynamic. It is fully owned by the town of Eastham, not the town of Orleans, and the National Seashore has management responsibilities over the whole operation. So that is being addressed through the Nauset Estuary Stakeholders Group, which I had updated you on previously. So the $120,000 is to continue with the Woods Hole Group to secure the required dredging permits. As I understand it, there's at least another $120,000 to come in the next year. Right now, Eastham has not offered up any monies for the permitting process. And I do not know if that will change in the future. But it should be noted that 85% of the material proposed to be removed is from Eastham's property, not from Orleans. So I think that is an issue that should be addressed down the road. We can't do anything without the permits, so we need to move forward on these permits, but cost sharing in the future obviously has to be an agenda item. Article 17 is fund engineering services for a potential dredge purchase. Judy, we did distribute the draft of the dredge recommendation. Did we or did we not?
I don't recall. I don't believe so.
Okay, there's been so much material going around. I will distribute that since that is both the select board and the finance board have that. So I'll distribute it to you at the same time I send the letter to George to distribute it to other people. But this is basically, I guess you could call it a backup fund, that if the town decides to purchase a dredge, that the funds would be available for the pre-engineering work. Ginny and I did disagree with putting this forward at this time, but that was a 4-2 vote on the part of the committee. And then Article 18 is to engineer the disposal sites for Pleasant Bay. I think I updated you at the last meeting that it's been 20 and 30 years since most of these maintenance dredging areas have been done in Pleasant Bay. So all of the previously used dewatering and nourishment sites no longer exist. So they have to do engineering and research in order to determine where those dredged materials could be utilized. Obviously eyeing the town-owned Port of Miniket. They've approached the folks over at Simpsons Island. So it's in process, but we definitely need the funds to be able to complete that process. I was a little distressed that they tucked Mill Pond into this because it's not Pleasant Bay and it is a add-on to Nauset Estuary, but that indeed is where it is. And we definitely need Pleasant Bay. So you're gonna have to vote for all of it in order to get the funds required for Pleasant Bay. And again, this is the permitting. So these permits are good for 10 years. So we need the permits. I think the really important issue will be once these permits are in hand, we then have to look at Pleasant Bay, Rock Harbor, and Nauset Estuary and come up with a plan so that we are spacing out the actual costs for the dredging over time. And it should be noted that the two pieces of equipment that the town is looking at, the Ellicott, I think it's 370 and 670. The 370 is already owned by Barnstable County. They have also purchased the 670. So the county has doubled their capacity. They've hired an entirely new crew. They're subsidized by the state of Massachusetts. So I think we are going to be taking we should be taking a very careful look at the services of the county and getting in their queue for future services. We don't know what our quantities will be behind the barrier beach, but regardless, we need to be in the county's queue. Then the last article is Article 43, which is a citizen's petition to permit and dredge fresh water, lakes and ponds. Judy tried her very hardest to secure a meeting with Brian Howes, Ed Eichner, and the DAC chairman and the full dredging committee because of their decades-long experience, both in freshwater and estuary environments within the system. She had approval from George Meserve to fund that. And the chair of the Dredge Advisory Committee had the meeting scheduled and canceled it, has never rescheduled it. And I think it's a real hole in the analysis that we have not gotten out of our silo and looked at some of these broader issues by people who have worked within both our ponds and our estuaries for some 2 decades. But specifically, he talks about thick accumulation of sediments, which are preventing water from getting into our ponds. I think you all are familiar that our ponds are groundwater level, and the water's going to come whether there's sediment in the bottom or not. So dredging is not going to change the flow of water into these ponds. It talks about the sediments smothering springs and seepages. Simply not true. The water has no problem getting through. He talks about improving water quality. Well, as you know, each pond in terms of its water quality has to be assessed based on many factors. To say that dredging will automatically improve the water quality is not necessarily true. And he also talks about this process improving the marine environment. So clearly there is some education to be done that freshwater ecosystems are different than estuaries and those ecosystems. In addition, they are promoting the Ellicott 370 as the piece of equipment that would be dredging freshwater ponds. I'll be trying to research that further with Ed Eichner, but clearly a suction driven dredging mechanism in a freshwater pond is the standard, but no pond on Cape Cod has ever been dredged. And even in Massachusetts, it's very, very hard to secure the permits, primarily because our goal through the Wetlands Protection Act is to protect the ecosystem and the wetlands and the animals. And as you can imagine, dredging and dewatering is extremely disruptive on all counts. So there's just a lot of information that we tried to provide a basis for DAC to consider this, and they have not availed themselves of the scientists that are already on our list to consult with.
Well,
Judy?
Betsy, this is a citizen petition. Is it
Right.
not one
Yes.
official being submitted by the Dredge Advisory Committee?
No, it's being submitted by a private citizen, but one of the questions I wanted to ask George before he left was, since the town has consultants and has the water quality within the Marine and Freshwater Quality Committees, why can't I think of it? In our
Review.
mission,
Our charge.
in our charge, that I really think that someone from the town should be addressing Article 43 on October 31st when it comes before the town, because this is simply misinformation. And it would seem to me that it would be appropriate for George Meserve to address how we tackle freshwater ponds and why dredging has not always been at the top of the list cost-wise.
Well, when I saw the article, I really didn't understand why it even applied, because the town has adopted a process, and they did it years ago, to evaluate each of our named ponds. There's 18 named ponds, to prioritize ponds and then go through the process of evaluating 2 decades worth of water quality data, filling in, identifying any data gaps and collecting that additional data through sediment core collection and more monitoring, et cetera, and then developing management plans. And when as you know, as we all know on this committee, many different management strategies are evaluated, and dredging is one of them. So it's already being done by the town. And if it was an appropriate management strategy for a particular pond, it would be put forward as a recommendation. But as you pointed out, there have been 0 freshwater ponds on Cape Cod dredged. And there's a reason, and you highlighted some of that as far as dredge material disposal being one of the primary obstacles. If there's contaminants, and where do you dewater it? And also the expense. And our committee, as you know, has already gone through this process for Uncle Harvey's Pond, and also Pilgrim Lake, and now Crystal Lake is the draft that we'll be reviewing next month. So I just don't understand. This is my personal view. I don't speak for the committee, but I don't understand the need for such an article, because it's already being looked at, dredging.
I believe DAC believes that the dredging didn't receive as full of an analysis as aeration and alum did. But I do believe it is being driven by this desire to purchase a piece of dredging equipment. And yet the dredging equipment they want to purchase is not the equipment that I would expect to be put into one of our freshwater ponds. So I think it's a matter of, that's why I wish we had the conversation with Ed and Brian and DAC, because I think that would have opened up a conversation. And I am very disappointed that we're not opening up communications and considering other points of view. The dredging just was too expensive at $350,000 to $700,000 compared to $20,000. It just didn't compute in terms of being a live option at this point in time.
Well, it's certainly
Not to mention, it didn't work with the question of disrupting the pond bottom and its effects on other things beyond immediate water quality, as in wildlife.
You folks may remember that Carolyn circulated an excellent article on Thoreau's Pond, and it talked about the course. Yes, that what happens with dredging also is that you lose all of your historical records that are stored in the sediment. So when they did that core for Thoreau's Pond, they could tell what pollen was in bloom, what time of the year it was in bloom, whether there were forest fires. There's just an incredible vault of scientific information stored in sediment. And while it may be appropriate for some ponds, for some reasons, to remove that historical record, it has to be based on a need. And in Orleans, the need is primarily based on improving water quality and recreational opportunities. So it's just that you can't isolate it. You need to look at it in terms of the total perspective.
Well, it clearly needs further discussion and review, so that
But
going
it brings
forward.
me back to my original question, which is someone from the town going to speak regarding Article 43 on October 31st?
I do not know the answer to that question. I don't know if the selectmen have, maybe Cecil can tell me. Cecil, you're muted.
Yep, we haven't had any discussions on that at all. So I suspect we'll be talking about it Wednesday night as to
Okay.
who's going to speak on different articles.
Okay,
Well, I would definitely speak with George. I think it's important that we assure someone is prepared to speak on the 31st, because when you get a article which is not accurate and people approve it without having full knowledge, it creates a real barrier to progress down the road.
yeah, you would have people voting that are not informed enough to make an informed vote, so that is important.
Well, that's because we haven't done the education and outreach, but that's
Right.
because it was a citizens petition rather than a town-sponsored item.
Anyway,
So that's where we are with DAC. We did go out onto the inlet on Tuesday, last Tuesday, this Tuesday. No, we went out on Thursday. We actually had both men from the county on board, the direct supervisor and the newly hired man who's creating the new 5-year business plan. They're bringing a whole business model now that they have doubled their capacity. So Nate Sears was there. We went over we followed the exact path of where mechanical dredging would be, where hydraulic dredging would be. Both Leslie Fields and Adam Finkel were there. We had a pre-meeting at the dock. We had a post-meeting, and then we all went over to Nauset Beach to physically be able to understand where the 80,000 cubic yards of material would be dewatered. And we discovered there's another difficulty there, which is with 2 booster pumps boosting an enormous distance, which is a challenge in any set of circumstances when you're trying to push that material up and over a dune, up and over an elevation. It is very problematic. And unfortunately, the slot from Priscilla over to that north of Nauset Beach parking lot, there's a finger of land, and you want to guess who owns it? National Seashore. So trying to dig through the National Seashore's dune to lay a pipe underneath and then get permission to restore it. In other words, this project, the permitting of this project is probably one of the most challenging ones that probably Woods Hole Group has ever dealt with. It is just fraught with so many parties and so
Right.
many challenges to overcome. Yes, they can all be overcome with enough money and enough time, but I think the permitting process will shake out exactly what will and won't be able to be done, because National Seashore is being very tight-lipped. It's very difficult. It would help to have direction from the National Seashore, but they're governed by federal laws. So they choose to listen and participate and provide information, but they cannot comment on any decision-making because they have a whole separate chain of command that they must follow.
well, the Dredge Advisory Committee has worked long and hard on this, and there are a lot of moving parts, so.
Exactly. Which reminds me, Judy, you were copied on that document. That's why I assumed it had been distributed. As the dredge alternate, you received a copy of that draft.
I guess I didn't distribute it because it was a draft and I didn't feel that.
Right, but I'm just realizing you do have it. So go ahead and distribute it.
I'll need to confirm with you which one. I am copied on a lot of documents, but when they're drafts,
Okay, I'll write a note then. I'll write a
I'm
note.
not comfortable in distributing unless the chair says it's okay to put it out there. I know it, once it's distributed to your committee, that it is a public document.
Document, right.
I guess I wasn't sure that should go out for our committee's review in that form, but
I think it's not for review, it's for information so that you're current with the processes that are moving
Okay.
forward.
well, maybe this week sometime you can talk to me and tell me which documents you think I should send to the,
I'll go back to Plan 1, which is I will send it to George with a copy to everyone on the committee with a little note. So that way everyone will get it at the same time.
plus I had buried our committee with a lot of documents to look at both this week and next month, so.
We do have a lot. We do. We're kind of playing catch up. Carol's
But
been
no,
raising
we
her
need to
hand.
stay current. We need to stay current, and I will
Yep.
get anything out there.
Well, you're going to vote on it on the
I-
31st.
Although separate, yes.
Carol,
yes.
This may be a really dumb question.
No
And
such thing.
maybe there is an answer that's obvious, but none of it's that obvious to me. If Eastham owns the spit itself, and it's managed also by the seashore,
yes.
who owns the dredge spoils? And can our committee even go ahead with permitting if none of this can ever happen because it's essentially not under Orleans' control?
We cannot prejudge the situation, which is why you have the Nauset Estuary Stakeholder Group. That
Okay.
includes Orleans, Eastham. Two of our select board, Kevin Galligan and Mark Matheson, always attend. There's representatives from Eastham, and then there's a representative from the National Seashore. So there is a mechanism where they are all supposed to be talking. But the bottom line is both the Orleans Conservation Commission and the Eastham Conservation Commission would have to approve dredging behind the barrier beach. And as you know, the wetlands law requires you to have no or minimize impact. So a 50-foot channel versus a 100-foot channel, I think we know where the feds would want to be. And with the how dynamic the back of that beach is, if you're doing a 50-foot channel, you could have Storm Teddy come through. Your time of year limit is end of January. So end of January, you finish your dredging, you're all set. All it takes is 1 or 2 storms after that, and you're going to come to June and you're going to be in the same position you're in now. So I cannot. I just know that this is why it's a regulatory process. This is why the special permit requires input from so many people. There are shellfish beds that would have to be moved. There are eelgrass beds that have to be avoided. Nate has been very consistent in being concerned about his ability to respond to emergencies. But rather than dig a straight flat channel behind the barrier beach, he has consistently suggested dredging the high spots. In other words, following the S shape of the estuary and only removing those materials that you have to in order to keep that S-shaped channel open. So more knowledgeable people than our committee on all these levels of permitting, both the state and the federal, are going to have to be weighing some very really interesting questions in terms of making this decision. Rich keeps stretching. I think he's got a question.
No, I'm just amazed. So
Yeah.
I think some other areas of the country are a little simpler than this because they don't necessarily have National Seashore involved. And I'm just more familiar with some in South Carolina where I did graduate work and stuff. It wasn't quite as complicated.
It's very
complicated in such a small area.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's also been that way, Rich,
Yeah.
for 400 years. Champlain noted the shifting shoals and the, you know, this is not new. So that has to be factored in. But unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective, Edgartown out on Martha's Vineyard back 25 years ago did through a grant program. First they rented a dredge and then they bought a dredge, and they have been extremely successful out there. But if you look at a map of Martha's Vineyard and you look at what their, you know, how much shoreline they have, we're struggling to get a comprehensive permit that has one dewatering location that can't even hold the volume of dredge materials that we want to
Mhm.
take out from behind the barrier beach.
Right.
Edgartown has 18 dredging sites, 17 approved dewatering sites, all under one comprehensive permit.
Hmm.
And the roads are adjacent to almost everything they need to do. So they are pumping out that sand and they are doing a great job. They have where they share a border with their neighbor. The
Mhm.
neighbor will pay for the permits and they'll take the sand out of the channel once the permit is approved. They can empty sand and have another town come in within hours and load it onto a truck
Yeah.
and haul it away and be at their space in 30 minutes. So
Yep.
this drive to use Edgartown
Mhm.
as a model
Mhm.
for Orleans is not a fit, in my personal
Yeah.
opinion. It just, oh, and in addition to that, even the county noted that out in Edgartown, it is shallow, it is wind protected. They almost have 0 days in the time of year dredging from like mid-October to end of January where they can't dredge. They dredge 5, 6, 7 days a week. As you know, in Chatham and what we are going to expect out there, the tides, the currents,
Mm.
it's just an entirely different scenario compared to the waters that Edgartown enjoys.
I know that SMAST has done at least 6 transects current current profiles across the Nauset estuary over the various years.
Is that available somewhere, Judy?
I think it was done for the town of Orleans, so it should be. I know it was done, I think in 2015. I think they did some additional ones more recently. It's all part of the the work that's going on in Nauset estuary to update the hydrodynamic model. There's work going on right now by SMAST and Dr. House in Pleasant Bay also, same thing, updating the hydrodynamic model. So
Is that something George would have that he could share with
Yeah.
us?
I suspect that there's a report, yes.
Okay,
Or a
I'll
tech-
write to
or a
George
tech-
because,
Or a tech memo. Sometimes it's just a tech memo when they're asked to do something.
well, I'm just trying to inject into the thought process on the dredging if we have already paid for information and that information is available, we should be considering it in the permitting process. And I
Right,
know
but
that
as-
Woods Hole did put a tide gauge in to measure the currents in the spring tide because the Ellicott
Right.
370 has a knot limit in terms of its ability to function.
Right,
Um,
but as you know, it's a very dynamic system and things change daily. So, but data collected previously is important, but also current data reflecting more present conditions is key too.
Okay, I'll put that on my George list and I'll ask him
Yeah.
about that as well.
So I don't know are you done with the update?
Yeah, I think, so I would
I'm-
really focus on the 4 articles and read them and be knowledgeable. And the Dredge Advisory Committee meeting is tonight at 5:30. You can Zoom it. Oh, like your kitty cat, Carol.
Nice cat.
This is our ADD cat. He has attention deficit by us humans.
Yes, there you go. Well, at 5:30, just like we're Zooming here, you will be able to pick up the Dredge Advisory Committee on Channel 18. If you wish to comment or speak, you can join the Zoom meeting itself, which you can find on the town's website. But that's, we're going to try to go through a little bit more on the model adjustments.
And in the future, maybe we can invite the chair, Charlie Carlson, to come to one of our meetings and do an update with you and maybe answer some questions if we have them, and maybe get information from us on what we do and how we might be able to help each other in this process.
We can certainly try.
5:30 today.
Yes, 5:30 today.
Yep.
We've been meeting about every other week.
Yeah, you guys meet a lot. It's a big commitment for everybody who's on that committee. All right, thank you very much, Betsy, for that update and all the information that you provided. I believe I believe it was Laura that had asked back in August that the Pilgrim Lake Management Plan be placed on the agenda for future discussion. And so it is here. But I do believe it was you, Laura, that asked that this happen, but it's a good thing that it's on here because I think that we also need to discuss next steps that our committee might want to take regarding the Pilgrim Lake Management Plan. Laura, are you there?
Yeah, I think it was either me or Judith that asked to put it on, but
Oh,
I guess
okay.
my question is, it's the same document, correct? Like no changes have been made that we had requested them to be made a while back.
This is the final report. There was a draft report we commented on. And then this October of 2019 is the final report. It was
Right.
supposed to incorporate our comments.
Right, but I don't think that there was ever any, I believe that we had commented on the final report as well, and that some of our comments hadn't been included in it. Yeah, go ahead. So that's just,
Judy, I think once it's a final draft, I mean, once you review the draft, but once it's final, it's final. They don't keep going back and adjusting and changing it.
I guess my question is, then why didn't they answer all of our questions in the draft format then?
More specific.
Well, yeah, I'm not exactly sure because I was off the committee for 1 year and I might have missed some of that process, but that's a question for George. Did we submit a formal list of questions
Yeah, we had, yes.
Okay,
I'll
So-
have to go back and find, maybe we can
Right.
ask Carolyn where that list was that we had submitted.
okay.
Laura, can I ask you a question? Do you have the ability to actually annotate the PDF version of that so you could actually mark where the issues are?
No, I don't have that ability.
You don't, okay.
Do
All
you?
I could,
Yeah, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I have, it's strange. It depends on which computer I work on, whether I start with an Apple or start with a, but I might be able to do that. I just started looking at the report, so I'm still kind of stuck on the executive summary part. But yeah, I mean, it's something I probably could do on my the computer that I'm using for this Zoom meeting. I do have a subscription to Acrobat, so.
But that's my point. It's a final report, so we can annotate and ask questions.
It doesn't make any difference, yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
Crystal
Right, well,
Lake,
we could still add like an addendum to it or
Mhm.
make a comments to it if, with comments, basically adding on to it from the committee ourselves.
Two of these.
I mean, again, I'm talking out of school because I don't understand the process, but I'm assuming, if you submitted something to them, they do or do not have to get back to everyone on what their comments were. So it sounds like they don't have to, they can just look at it. It's not like the process with the FDA or something when there are so many things they've got to respond.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
And you will
Yeah.
get a response. It sounds like they don't have to do that anyway.
I think it would be appropriate if we still have comments or questions regarding the
Mhm.
final report for Pilgrim Lake, that we send them to George, who I'm sure would send them to Ed Eichner and Dr. Howes. And I think because of the long working relationship that SMAS and Mr. Eichner have with the town of Orleans, I think that they could respond to it if, as long as it doesn't take a long time to do so.
oh, there's Ed. He's on the screen.
Oh, Ed Hafner, Ed Eichner. Oh. I could ask permission from the committee to allow Ed to comment if he wishes to. If Sarah can make that possible. I don't know if he wishes to because he's muted. Oh, now he's not.
No, he's not. Come on, Ed.
Hey there.
This
Hey
is Ed
there.
Eichner, who was the primary, author of this report. So thank
Well,
you, Ed.
if what we went through, just like any other project that we have through the town of Orly, we went through a draft, just as you stated before. We put together, we gathered all of the comments that we got from everybody, and put those into the final report. Now, as I think it was Richard was talking about, we do not have to provide a Q&A kind of response document. So what you have is the final. We try to respond to anything. That said, if there are substantive issues that somebody has, that something is wrong or something along those lines, we certainly can correct it.
That's
But
kind of, I was saying, yeah.
yeah, so, if you've got something else that's come up in the whatever year since we did this, the final version, by all means.
Laura, there's substantial comments that you think still need to be,
I'm
Ray?
gonna have to go back and look at everything. I guess the key would be to find out, maybe our comments just weren't included in the draft to the final. Like maybe they never got in there. For whatever reason, Ed never got them or whatever. But I'm gonna have to go back and take a look at all that and then figure out what is and what isn't in there, doing a comparison of the report. So I'm glad to do that and then get back to everybody.
Well, I was able to find my January 22nd, 2019 email to Ed and Carolyn. And pretty much the biggest concern that I had with Pilgrim Lake is that the time frame was so long, because the issue at Pilgrim Lake were septic issues and sewering would be a solution for those. I was objecting to waiting until that happened before we address Pilgrim Lake. I would very much like to find some actions now that we can do to start a process with Pilgrim Lake, both in terms of educating the abutters and trying to generate some alternatives that might be tried in one of the three bowls of the pond, perhaps. And then my other issue was trying to research a proposal to change zoning and building regs to encourage people who are either building a home or replacing a septic system, encouraging them to use alternative septic systems. And I think that's that's a town-driven process. And I think we're remiss in not pushing things like that. It's just like this invasive problem. I see a brand new home go up and I see a hedge of 50 privet put in. How in God's name can an invasive species on the invasive species list not be covered under a building code somewhere, so that we don't continue to proliferate these issues? And then the last one we had is really Judy's bailiwick, which is this idea of the herring runs and the volume of phosphorus that they're bringing in, totally out of our control. I haven't heard that there's any grand schemes or ways to remediate just in those 2 months when we have the extra phosphorus, but is there anything outside the box that could help us encourage the herring and still accommodate for the extra phosphorus that they're bringing in the pond? So if you want me to resend this memo, I'm not sure it's on my computer, but I could just copy this. I'd be happy to do that. But I was trying to get at some of those bigger issues and things we can do now in terms of zoning or building or planning or something to move it forward.
That kind of deals with the item on the agenda where, to discuss the next steps, because typically as part of this whole process, our committee, once there's a final report, our committee provides its recommendations to the select board for their consideration and future action. So we have not done that for Pilgrim Lake. And so we should probably have that on the agenda for next month and draft some recommendations to pass on to the select board.
I think that would be helpful, but having been through the whole Uncle Harvey's process, I just think the sooner you get the butters involved and start the educational process, you just can't do it too soon.
Well, and that would be part of that process.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, I see you, Ed. Letting Betsy finish. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Ed Hafner.
Yeah, so when the Pilgrim Lake Management Plan was done, I think there was discussion, as I remember with Carolyn when she was chair, about waiting until we got the Crystal Lake one. And then together we could maybe make a more comprehensive recommendation to the select board regarding these two, which are in close proximity and big ponds for our town. So we didn't move at that time to write a memo to the select board, as perhaps we should have at that time, I'm thinking. At any rate, we now have the Crystal Lake Management Plan. So what I think we ought to do is go over that one and then see if we can craft a memo to the select board that encompasses both, because I think they're going to be similar.
And because Crystal Lake is new, we would have the extra step with Ed Eichner, so that, I mean, we still have to have a chance for him to review his findings and have
And
our
we can
dialogue
talk it
with
all
him.
over with him, yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just that this Pilgrim Lake's been sitting here for 1 year. Crystal Lake was overdue. If we'd known how overdue Crystal Lake would have been, we probably wouldn't have waited on Pilgrim.
Right.
But now we find we have two massive reports that it's a lot to read and digest, but I think we should make a commitment, you know, maybe 1 or 2 months or whatever, to do exactly what Ed Hafner has proposed.
Other members, comments?
As long as we can get to this sometime this year, I think that would be a good suggestion.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I do know we'll, place the Crystal Lake draft on the agenda for next month. We can also have, a special meeting if the committee feels that we need to meet more frequently for a short time than once a month. We have that option as long as Sarah can do it and it fits in with the other schedules of other meetings.
Certainly,
I
I think
know. I know my video's off. I apologize, but that. Also, we have our consultant too. So how can our consultant help us with this? I mean, do we come up with our own suggestions, or should we ask our consultant to do part of this work for us?
I can just give you my opinion. I mean, the consultant has done that in the plan, in the final plan and in the draft plan. I would guess that they could be asked to review our recommendations, make sure that they flow with the recommendations in the report. Again, this would be done, we would be working with George, and he can certainly ask our consultants for input or to review our recommendations and make sure that it's, that we are technically accurate and that supporting, or if we do support, which I would assume we would, but to support the recommendations in the plan.
I was talking about Scott Fisher.
Oh, well, you're on Uncle Harvey's Pond, though. I was still on Pilgrim Lake, and then Crystal Lake was mentioned. So that's.
But can't he also comment on Pilgrim Lake? I mean, isn't that part of
his contract,
the work plan, the contract?
Their contract, if I understand correctly, is for implementation. And I don't know if their contract right now includes implementation for Pilgrim Lake and Crystal, because Crystal's still a draft and we are still in the process of needing to make our own recommendations to the select board for Pilgrim. So, yeah, and that's your request.
Scott's here. I don't know if he has any comments.
Oh, see, I would love it if Sarah could jot down for me the names of all the participants out there that I can't see, because I'd like to know who was participating, and I certainly didn't know Scott was there, so I don't know if Scott has a comment or not.
Is
I'm here, Judy. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you, yes. Scott Fisher is the
Sorry
consultant
about
right
that.
for Uncle Harvey's Pond and for the implementation of these management plans. Go ahead, Scott.
So I can speak to what Laura was just mentioning, and our scope of work does involve all of these lakes, Judy. So our scope of work in our contract with the town involves reviewing management plans, so all the plans that get submitted, recommending implementation actions, and then participation in meetings like this and assisting you all with budgeting and implementation and preparation of actual implementation activities. So there's multi-stages there, Judy, but it does include sort of, the early onset discussion and review of management plans, and then working with you all and recommending actions. And our scope, the original bid included 4 ponds and lakes. Uncle Harvey's, Pilgrim Lake, Crystal Lake, and Baker's Pond were the 4 that were mentioned, but there was a possibility of additional ponds, and we just have a dollar amount that we work under. So we could certainly do that under the direction of the committee.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Can I
Betsy?
make a proposal, Judy?
Sure.
That we have a special meeting to
Mhm.
address solely Pilgrim Lake with both Ed and Scott present. I think we could have a real dialogue. When we have all these other agenda items, we get so pressed that I don't feel we do justice to all the work that Ed has done in putting it together. And Scott would certainly benefit from hearing the dialogue and hearing our thoughts and Ed's thought. I'm just finding it's like with DAC, you need to broaden out where your comments are coming from, and then you get outside the box a little bit and you generate some new ideas that might really help us. And I'd be more than happy to go to an extra meeting 1 month to do Pilgrim Lake is one, and another separate meeting in the future for Crystal.
Other members? Opinion, comments?
I agree.
I do too.
Ed, Laura?
Yeah.
That's fine. Extra meeting would be fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
I will find out regarding availability of all of you and the consultants, and also George needs to bless any contractor activity, even though, as Scott mentioned, it's part of their contract. And I know SMAST also has an ongoing technical resource function to the town. So, but I do need to work through George, or we do on that. So I will talk.
Now I see Matthew Creighton on the screen too, Judy.
Oh, one of our consultants involved in this process. Yes. I don't know if he has a comment to add. I can't see
I
him.
had raised my hand earlier before Scott had started talking because I wasn't sure if he was still
can't
on,
see.
but
Okay.
no, virtually. No, I just wanted to reiterate with what Scott had said. If you want us to be involved, just cue us into the emails as well, and we're happy to sit on that. And then I and Scott are all listening in today, so just to make sure we're following along. But yeah, we do have a contract to discuss the other ponds, like Scott had mentioned. So I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ed Eichner, do you have any additional comments to make?
Nope.
Okay. Any other discussion on Pilgrim Lake right now? I think we're going to put it on the agenda again, maybe with Crystal Lake, and also discuss having a meeting sooner than next November's meeting. Is that what the committee would like to do, to explore the possibility of meeting in another couple weeks?
I think anything before the holidays gets more attention than anything once you get into the holidays.
Okay, so I'll work on some dates, run it through George, and see what we can come up with, and then come back to you with some potential dates to consider. Also need to make sure it works with the meeting schedule for the town and Sarah's availability and all. Okay.
Good idea.
All right. Thank you very much. And I thank you to Ed and Scott and Matthew for chiming in. So I think that brings us to the public comment and announcement section. And again, I cannot see those who are out there. So someone else is going to have to tell me if the public has a comment and has their hand up.
I see other names, but of course, I don't think I could see if hands were up or not.
No, I don't have a little hands up or dialogue box, or at least I don't see it on my screen right now.
Yeah, Judy, this is Sarah. Nobody's showing their hands up.
Okay.
Good.
Sarah, you may have heard me mention before, if you could just jot down the names of people out there so I have a record of it.
Yep, I can do that. I sent you an email of it.
Oh, well, I'm not reading email right now. I've got two screens open and not on email. So. Sorry.
That's okay.
And this on the other, so trying to multitask here when technology is not my strong suit.
Judy, you did great today. You were handling a lot.
Yes.
Well, thank you for the words of encouragement. So if there are no public comments out there, then I would like to talk about items for future agendas, and on the agenda, I included a list of them, so we need to modify that just a little bit based on comments today that were made and some of our discussions.
And I had one thing that I think is really important.
Sure.
That the annual OPC meeting on October 25th at 5 o'clock is going to have Dr. Wagner talk about the bubbles at Sarah's Pond and cyanobacteria. So it should be, and there's room for people to ask questions. So if you have any possibility of tuning in, please do. I don't know if it'll be recorded so that you can look at it later, but you know, it's nice to be able to ask questions in a annual meeting like that.
Judith did say yesterday that I think it was an email, or else it was on the OPC site, that this will be recorded.
Oh, good, good.
Yes, that's great. And I had actually originally expected Judith to be able to attend, and I had hoped that she would have made the announcement for the OPC annual meeting. So I'm really glad that you did that, Betsy, because I think that will be a very informative meeting. And I look forward to listening to Dr. Wagner's talk. So any other items for the future agenda? I mean, I try to keep these as short as possible. It's 11:38. I promised to release Carol in time for her meeting. I know she always has a conflict right now, or at least, so I appreciate her being here today.
Okay.
Anything else that the committee wishes to put on the list, or any other comments?
All set.
All right.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor by roll call, please.
Laura, aye.
Ed, yes.
Carol, yes.
Rich, yes.
Betsy, yes.
Judy Scanlon, yes. And I thank Cecil for also being here.